So remember to look at the smile if you can. All right. Okay. So hello, everybody. Welcome to Gozo TV, to the Trig Podcast of Joy. This is Gaby and Dr. Peggy. I am so excited to have you guys. So thank you for being here once again. Bienvenidos, hermanas, amigas. And, today we're talking about a topic that I think is very interesting. It's a topic that I think all of us know about, and that's the topic of sexual addiction and what I'm calling iPorn. There's so much in the news, even just this week, about this important topic. And you might be someone out there who is maybe from all different places. You're maybe saying, you know what, I don't deal with that kind of stuff. We just should ignore that. Maybe you're all the way to the other side where you're like saying, hey, this is awesome. Sexual Revolution 2014. Here we go again. Let's just be free and love, love, love. You might be from a spiritual perspective. You might think, you know what, if we just pray and really trust the Lord, this will go away. I think that all of us have different perspectives on that, and that's what makes this topic very important. I think at the end of the day, we have to really discuss these topics with knowledge, know that there's a biological and a behavioral aspect to this. So here in studio, we have Dr. Peggy Lesnick, who is a licensed sex addiction therapist, and she's going to be able to answer a lot of our questions. Peggy is also joined with Gaby, who's a life coach and a woman who loves God, been married also for many years, has 5 amazing children. And again, we're going to be answering a lot of your questions. So please be sure to live tweet us at David Trig LA if you want to answer or ask us any questions. We can take care of those as well. Now, before we do that, I always want to start with a fun joke because, this is Gozo TV. Okay. And so this is part of our fun. So this is things only a mom can teach. Okay. Moms like to teach, right? Okay. So here's a mom teaching their child about anticipation. So my mother taught me about anticipation. Here's what she said. Just wait until your father gets home.
So typical.
My mother taught me about receiving. You're going to get it when we get home. We have a little theme going here, huh? Feeling scared. My mom is actually here. My mother taught me medicine. If you don't stop crossing your eyes, you're going to freeze that way. Ever say that way?
Yeah. They told me that.
And then here's, related to our topic about sex and sexual addiction. My mom taught me about sex. How do you think you got here?
Right.
Okay, that really helps. So when it comes to the topic of sexual addiction and iPorn, the advent of these mobile devices, which is watching the CMO, the marketing director of Facebook, and she's saying that 80% of people now are Facebook through their phones. And so they feel like actually Facebook is behind, can you believe it? Behind the times because they didn't think about mobile until recently. Now, guess who's ahead of the game on mobile? The porn industry.
Yeah.
They are not losing any customers, are they, when it comes to... So I had a few questions for us today, for our panel, and for us, and for you out there as well. Please tweet us your questions to @DavidTrigLA. Here's some questions that I kind of had, Dr. Peggy. Before we get into the details of it, does God hate sex? I mean, do you think, that, we as people, we seem to have obviously a desire to be spiritual people. We want to be holy and good. And I think most people want to be moral. But I think that the conflict that a lot of people have, they say, well, does God just want to take away all our fun? Isn't it fun to bring pornography into the bedroom? Isn't it fun to let young people experiment before they get married? Isn't it good to kind of partners to see if you fit? Does God just seem to hate sex? What do you guys think about that? Does God hate sex? Dr. Peggy?
Well, I would say no, God does not hate sex. Where I come from studying this topic is mostly centers around behaviorally and biologically what happens when a person views pornography or gets on their iPhone and just takes a little look at it. I think that's innocent. I think that person that does that is thinking, okay, well, I'm curious, maybe I'm going to check this out. Okay. But what happens biologically in the brain, which God gave us our brains, okay, is that there are chemicals that are released in the brain with just one look or 2 or 3 looks at a porn picture. And that sort of sets a segue and actually develops a pattern in the brain.
The
A
brain
skid,
gets
a skid mark.
wow.
If you look at an MRI of a person that has looked at porn for maybe a year or so, up, you'll see in their brain skid tracks.
Yeah.
So now behaviorally, what happens when there is this need or desire to go back to the porn, the brain has already remembered it, and the brain goes, I want that.
Yeah.
Okay. So no, God does not hate sex. It's just that I don't believe that people recognize the power of pornography and the power of the biological brain system to form to need for the pornography. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
So, Gaby,
yeah,
what do you think about that?
God created sex,
Okay.
because we come to this world that way, but and the way He created it is different. It's not the way we, just took it to another level. We like we're talking about pornography and things like that, and that's something that it's just as the same as using drugs. It will cause the same effects in your brain, right? But that God doesn't intend for us to use it that way. He wants us to, like in the Bible says, you have to be content with the woman of your youth. It's talk about the relationship since you get married. Well, sex is intended for marriage, and people nowadays like they don't want to hear that because they believe that it's normal to express to they don't think about like it's a sin. You have to be in church, they will tell you it's a sin, but if you hear it out of your home, they will think, oh, you're crazy. That's not for this time of age.
Right. It's old-fashioned to think that way.
It's old-fashioned.
Right. Yeah. Now, what would you say, back to Dr. Peggy, we just saw in the news about this guy from Seventh Heaven, the dad, Stephen Collins, who just confesses on tape to child molestation, but yet it seems to be a bit of a trap. And here he was trying to get help in his marriage or through their divorce. What can a man like that do when he's trying to get help, and yet it seems like the system and maybe his wife, and because of money and because of different things, is kind of like a way of his path to healing? What do you think about that? What do you think about what's happening to him, and what can he do now that this thing's out in the open?
Oh, that's a really good question. And people stay in relationships for a lot of reasons, right? Financial reasons, a fear of loneliness, addictions of many sorts, the children, family, value systems, and this compulsion to intimacy problems, this addiction to pornography and this and that. That is one of the secrets, like secrets that many addicts cannot and will not share. And sometimes the people in the family don't even know it really exists.
Yeah.
All right. So in this particular case, I can't say because I've never obviously met this man, but in many people that I've worked with, and probably many people out there, because there are like two out of every 7 people has an addiction to pornography. Okay. There's a lot of people that are addicted to it. So what can this person do? Or he basically went to therapy.
Right. He's trying to get the help, right?
Right. Get his help. And that's what I think pretty much everybody comes to that term where they go, you know what? I am sick of myself isolating. I am tired of spending my time this way. I'm tired of spending my money this way. I'm sick inside. I'm lying to my friends and my family. I'm lying to myself. And people can ultimately reach out to someone that can help them. And which you kind of brought up a good point, which was that that God can heal this. All right. God is huge in a therapeutic way. The way I see it is that it's releasing to him the shame that comes from this addiction. Now, God didn't give us the addiction. That comes from our human will. And unfortunately, we go down these different paths, and pornography, I'm telling you, it's easy to get addicted, easier than sugar. Right? Sugar addictions. I mean, it's so easy to get addicted to pornography because it's accessibility and so forth. So I think that this gentleman going to a therapist, he was vulnerable. He laid it out on the line, and unfortunately, this was brought out into the open about what transpired with the,
Yeah.
with the therapist. But this is a complicated case.
Exactly.
Usually not this complicated. If someone is out there listening and they're saying, I have this problem, I watch pornography, okay, 2 hours a day, I do pornography before my work, or I don't get my work done, I don't spend time with my family because I'm looking at pornography and masturbation, then it is a problem.
Yeah.
And then you can seek a therapist that only works with sex addiction, because they know how to help you work through the program.
Yeah.
Okay. You do need a certified therapist.
Exactly.
A therapist to do it, because
Absolutely.
just anybody
Right.
is not going to work. It's
Exactly.
like a 2 it's like, it's a 2 to 5 year process.
Exactly.
To get to rid yourself of it and to be able to manage yourself in a healthy way. Okay.
Yeah.
And
That's
also,
very good.
Can I add
Yes,
something?
of
And
course.
also, like any addiction, they will need to go to the root of the problem.
Well, that's a good question, but let me put this out for you. Okay. When a person is actively acting out, there has to be a sobriety first, which you have to look at 90 days of sobriety, which can mean anything, right? Like, say, sobriety from pornography, sobriety from anything acting out sexually, alcohol, sobriety from cigarettes, sobriety from overeating, sobriety. You have to be able to get sobriety, okay, for 90 days away from that particular problem that the person has. Now, after that, there's a whole process of being educated about what is this. After about a year, when the person has built up some confidence and some trust in themselves, they can start looking at, okay, where did this addiction come from? How can I tackle it? Because if you just go in and try to problem solve without building a strong foundation, the person's just going to relapse.
They're going to just bounce.
You follow me?
Yeah, exactly.
So sobriety is the first.
Yeah.
All right. So like if someone came into my office and they were a sex addict and but they smelled of alcohol, okay, then I would say, okay, you have to get this alcohol under control first.
Okay.
We have to get you sober first.
Sure.
And then, okay, that's going to take this 90 days. And then after that, we're going to go working on the psychoeducation about what you have to do to take care of yourself in a healthy manner, make healthy choices for yourself. And then after that, we'll start looking at the trauma.
That is amazing. Yeah. So there's a sobriety process. Exactly. And I'm so thankful that you have that knowledge. And so for all of you out there who might be maybe listening, watching, if you want to tweet us your questions, maybe you have a question regarding, what is that first step? Maybe where are you, in that step? And maybe you are at the place you're ready to come and speak to a therapist, come and speak to a spiritual director, come and speak to somebody who you trust, and to say, what, I need to start. And maybe you're at that place. Live tweet us your questions. Let us know how we can help you. Now, I had something I want to ask you guys, and we're going to get into some specific things. What about STDs, erectile dysfunction? What about the question of what if my wife catches me? It seems like sexual addiction is such obviously a taboo thing in some ways. It's hilarious because I was also watching just a couple of things on the news lately, and this Friday, a big movie's coming out called Addicted with Tyson Beckford and Sharon Leal and a bunch of other guys. And then, of course, just last week, a book by Cohen, his name, the Coelho. Yeah, the book is called Adultery, just came out. So, people are trying to really make money out of pornography and sex addiction, and yet, like I said, in some places it's such a taboo.
Or show it in a subtle way.
Or show it,
like this is like trying to,
like, this is fun, or this is
no,
experience.
Like, it happened because
to like blame maybe somebody else.
That's called rationalizing.
Rationalizing it, exactly. So let's talk some specific things. Again, trying to get as specific as we can to help people out there. What of STDs, erectile dysfunction? And then what about the question, maybe even more specifically, what can I do if my wife catches me? My guess is a lot of men come in and they're like, now what do I do?
Well, what's
my
going
wife
to happen
caught me.
is the house may burn down.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And because the woman, which I'm glad you brought it up, because a lot of the focus goes on the treatment and the attention going to the sex addict. Okay. But the truth is that the spouse and the family are suffering too.
Yeah.
Because when the addict is not there to hang out, to converse, to be part of the other person's lives, you know, a lot of the times they're checked. So that child or that wife has a void.
Hmm.
And what happens usually with the wife is that they begin to feel like he's not connected with me. He doesn't think I'm pretty for him. He doesn't want to have sex with me or sleep with me, or he doesn't want to spend time with me. So maybe there's something wrong. And that's kind of what shows up in therapy a lot with couples is like, we're not anymore. Well, that's kind of a red flag to me that there's, you know, this way to go. But back to your point of, okay, what happens when I get caught?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, from the clients that I have seen, that usually the man, but there are female sex addicts too, obviously.
Yes. Right.
But usually what happens is the man is relieved. Okay. They're glad they got caught. In fact, a lot of times they'll leave something on the computer for the woman to come by and catch it because he can't say, you know, I've got this issue with the pornography. He's like not connecting the dots. He's kind of very much in deep into his addiction. So
Yeah.
You know, you mean he cannot confess about himself? He needs to leave like something.
he wants
Right. Yeah.
kind of, in the majority of cases I've seen, they sort of want to get caught to relieve the stress, because let's look at it
This is
this way.
stressful. Yes.
What if you're a busy business owner, but you have to spend 3 to 5 hours a day on pornography?
Oh.
Okay, that takes out like a big chunk of your day.
Yes.
Okay, and it's like, get rid of this chunk on my shoulders. I want it off. But how am I going to tell my wife about it? Okay, especially since they know that it's been a problem since childhood. Okay, for the most part, it's been a problem since childhood.
I was reading this article that says that 70% of pornography happen at work, in the office. That the computers in every office, 70% of people of men are hooking pornography.
Well, like in the 50s and the 1950s and the 60s and probably the 70s, it was like Playboy and Maxim, okay? And you hide it into touch or whatever. But now with you know, with the phones, you just do and it's there. See, so it's accessible.
But they use their work area, their computer, the company computer, to access pornography, and that's bringing out big problems in companies.
But if you were to get caught, you'd be fired. So that's a consequence, right? So you've got the addiction and the isolation of the rest of the family. Then you're spending all this time, you know, doing this, and then you're caught up into it, and then all of a sudden, bammo, you get caught at work, and bammo, you're out of your job. Okay.
Yeah.
Or let's say, you know, up in some of the upper scale neighborhoods, I mean, they spend a couple $300,000 to $500,000 a year on prostitution.
Yes.
See, it's not just a little thing.
It's like
you
a
can
big
spend
deal.
a lot of money on this whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, but for the regular dude, commonplace person, when he gets caught, okay, usually the wife will go into a very deep hysterics.
You know what's amazing about just thinking of
hysterics.
Exactly. You know, I was thinking of how common this is in the news and the media. I love House. You guys ever watch the show House? I love that guy. What a genius, right? He's so crazy. He's out of control, but it's like, wow, this genius man. And then if you remember, I mean, what's the thing he would do like every Friday night? He would get prostitutes, right? I mean, that was part of like his routine. There's this man, this amazing talent, this, you know, like ravaged man in so many ways, lashing out at people, but yet he's so intelligent, so everybody kind of accepts him. It's okay. And yet part of his routine, even I think on the last show, there he was with, you know, like just women that he would probably spend thousands of dollars on because of his wealth.
Address this slightly.
And there he is.
This is really very interesting. Okay. Like if you just allow yourself to open up your brain and let this information come in.
Yes.
But a couple will get together based on what they experienced in more of their adolescence, childhood and adolescence. So let's say this dude on the house, okay, gets the prostitutes and his wife's okay with it.
Well, he's single in this case, but
Well, let's just say, okay, she knows and doesn't do anything about it or whatever. That will give you insight into the intimacy that does not exist in that marriage. Now, there's many marriages that stay together because the wife never really had an ability to be intimate with her husband because she never really learned it in the family that she came from.
Yeah.
And so she kind of settles into, okay, this guy doesn't pay attention to me anyway. It's okay. Because, that's kind of what I was used to anyway. Oh, I'll just focus on the children. We don't need to be close. So,
like accepting. But you know what? In many
Mm.
other cultures, like in Latin American culture, in other countries, the fathers view the boy differently than the girl. They raise them different.
Very
So
true. Yes.
when they
I remember that.
when they go through their puberty,
Yeah. Puberty. Yeah.
and
Right.
everything, they have the tendency of taking, years ago, I don't know if now because of many sicknesses and stuff, but years ago, I remember men will take the boys to have their first
Experience. There. Yeah.
and it was very sad because emotionally,
Yeah.
the boy is not prepared for that, especially with an adult that is charging for that.
It's definitely teaching the wrong message, though.
It's
about
the wrong
intimacy.
message, and then it teach the wrong message when they go into marriage. And like you said, the women say, for him, it's, well, this is the way my father taught me.
Right, the family.
So this is like mentally is okay. They accept it as normal. So women knows about this. Says, oh, it's normal. I seen in many houses the guys have their calendar with naked women.
Right. The
And
pinups.
it's
Yes. In the garage.
The
Right.
garage. No,
Yeah.
not even in the garage. I seen them in the kitchen.
In the
And
kitchen
one
now.
day I
Yeah.
went to a
Right.
friend's house in Argentina, and I see that, and I said, "What the hell is that? Why you let your husband have? Oh,
Yes.
he's happy.
Yeah. And
We
it's
don't
true.
care."
And it's true culturally, you have it. I was talking to a friend that has been a sex addict. We're talking about his experience, and he'll probably be on our show here coming up in a few weeks. He was telling me that when he was 11 years old, that he would spend the night with his grandfather, kind of spend the night just with grandpa, and he would get up at night to go get a drink of water, and he would watch his grandpa at night watching pornography. And his grandfather would invite him to sit next to him and say, "Hey, let me just show you." And so, of course, that started in him, like Dr. Peggy's saying, a real trauma in his life at 11 years old, not being able to understand what's going on. And then he became a sex addict. And now, by the grace of God and a lot of tools, he's now been celibate for 10 years.
Yeah,
so I can't wait to actually have him here on our show.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about young people and children. I was reading a article here on ABC News, just came out last week, talking about how an increasing percentage of public schools are now including just say no or abstinence in their training in school. So now it's not just STDs and condoms and how to protect yourself, but now it's the issue of abstinence. Now in the scriptures, I love reading always what Jesus has to say about sex. Speaking of God and sex, and here in Matthew 5, Jesus says, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.'" Speaking of the book, right? "But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye," this is kind of gets crazy here, "causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away." Is that literal? Wow.
They call it the 3-second rule.
The 3-second rule. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to go into hell. But his point there is, don't say, "Oh, I'm not doing that." If your heart, he's saying, is looking with that intention in your mind, you've already committed the act. What do you guys think about that? How does that look nowadays? Especially when it comes to young people and abstinence, and how do we train young people today to quote say no, to quote not look at women a certain way, or maybe for women not to look at men a certain way? How do we train our young people to quote be abstinent? What do you think, Gaby?
I have a 17 years old, and when he asked me when he could have a girlfriend,
okay,
and I told him when you're 16, because in my mind I'm thinking I don't even want you to have a girlfriend, no, but when you're 16 you can, because the kids will go behind your back if you don't, be open with them. So I said when you're 16, and we are a Christian family, I raised in that way, and I have a peace of mind. And so he likes this girl in high school, and since he was 15, and the girl loves him. one day before, 2 weeks before he turned 16, she asked him, when are you going to ask me out? So he came and told him the truth. I don't have permission until I'm 16. So they never heard about that thing in her home. So that night, the parents called me to invite him over for dinner. Well, when he turned 16, he started going out with her. But before, he was clear with her. And it says, there's one little, detail between this.
Wow.
He says, you don't know Christ yet.
Oh, wow.
So he was out front. So she started coming to church. She fell in love with Jesus. She got baptized. And I think she knows more about God and more than my son, right?
Right.
But I think when you need to train the children in that and be open and talk about sex and what the Bible says. And because if you don't tell them, many people outside will tell them, and it's not going to be the best way. So with sex, we open, we talk, of course, when they're little, I keep them kind of in a bubble. I don't want, I love them believing in Santa Claus and all that stuff.
Exactly. Easter Bunny. I know.
Because I think when you lose that, that's it. But when it comes to the time of talking to the children, you need to talk. Yeah. And when it was the time for my son to have the first sexual talk, I wanted to talk to him. Yeah. Because it's a man thing, they need to talk. So I remember I wrote everything to my husband. This is what you're going to tell him. And he said, why I had to do? Because you had to talk to him as a man, but with the woman's point of view.
That's really good. That's really important.
Loves it.
Powerful.
It was powerful,
Yeah.
And I think, well, it's a partnership. We go together.
Yeah. And at what age would you normally recommend that moms do this or families do this?
Well, when they're in 5th grade, they're going to talk about sex. They have a class that you have to sign up for him to go. Right. In 5th grade. So, and the day before, the week before, you have to already talk because, in the school, they're going to get it anyway. Yeah, they go into middle school. Yeah. So that was the time I said, okay, John, this is time. And so they went out for a date. Dad
had the talk.
Yeah, then they had the talk, but he studied my
he had your cheat sheet in his pocket. Yes. I hope he remembered to use it.
He remembered, and it was great because we have another point of view. We have a woman's point of view that how a man needs to treat it.
Tell me about that. Like, I'm really intrigued. I had the talk with my son, and that was really powerful. He felt embarrassed, but we had Baskin Robbins, so that kind of helped a little bit. But I'm really intrigued by the woman's perspective. Dr. Peggy, what would you say? You have obviously children and sons, and what would be that woman's perspective as maybe speaking to a young person, but even now, speaking to your children now, speaking to young people today? What is that perspective from a woman's point of view?
Well, it'd probably be different if I weren't a therapist.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a licensed trained clinician.
Yeah.
And if I was my regular mom in my home, raising my sons, I have my value system. They learn from me what my value system is. Yeah. And I agree with Gaby about the importance of talking to your children about what your value system is. Right. But okay, I mean, that's what I did. But I learned from my father that, you be direct and you talk about up front. Yeah. What's the deal? What's going to happen? What are consequences of pregnancy? What are consequences of premarital sex? What are consequences of watching pornography or getting into relationships too early? What are the consequences of all that? Okay. So you have these discussions. Okay. For my family. Okay. And that's my family.
You grew up with that. Yeah.
Well, that's how I would do it. Yeah. But truthfully, there's no one way of doing it. And so how do we address the whole world on this issue? And I think that addressing the whole world in their own different ways of viewing things, and some people have didn't have the parents to help them do that. And so now they're stuck in an addiction somewhere and full of shame. And those are the people that I kind of want to address here. Yes. Because the people that
didn't have the talk.
Yeah. Didn't have the talk, and that are in like some problems, and maybe they just skipped over the problems, right? Maybe there's like, deal with that, whatever. Yeah. I'm getting married now. I'm going to have my own family. Well, now they're dealing with it in their 40s because they have their own children and they're still like secretly acting out. And so they have to, resolve the problems. Okay, so when do you say that this becomes a problem? Watching pornography, it becomes a problem. See, there would be many people out there that would say she doesn't know what she's talking about. But what I would say, it's a problem if the information says out there that it's highly addictive and it messes with your brain chemistry, like
Right.
methamphetamine,
Exactly. Yeah. I've read
cocaine,
those things. Yeah.
street drugs, whatever that's really cheap, aerosols,
Right.
bath salts, really cheap stuff. Pornography is that much more powerful to the brain. It
Yeah.
will consume your brain.
Yeah.
So if the person can get the information and be able to have a choice of not to do that, okay, that would be great. But what if the person is abandoned or has loneliness problems or issues that they're by themselves or they feel isolated, okay? And they're looking for a way to relieve the hurt that they have inside of them. Well, pornography is free because it's on the phone and you just look it up. Okay, so it's free. They don't have to pay for anything really. They can go anywhere and view it. So we can say, okay, don't do it. And I can tell my children, don't do it.
Don't eat chocolate.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right. But the people who haven't learned how to grieve their feelings and how to be in touch with them and to have self-love and self-acceptance are looking for an outside source to give that to them.
Right.
Okay.
And normally that would be pornography or food or some addiction, alcohol, drugs,
A
methamphetamine.
person that looks for the outside,
And outside,
is emotionally bankrupt.
Yeah.
Okay. So we could say that. I think I could say that, and it kind of would be across all cultures, all monetary systems, all educational levels, all everybody of colors of the world.
Yeah. There's
People,
a bankruptcy inside.
There's emotional bankruptcy inside.
Right.
And so they look to the outside to fix it. And that's where the pornography piece is so powerful. I don't believe that they know how addicted they get to it. It becomes their friend. Okay, so now what do? You have a best friend that's there for you.
Right. Free, private.
It's just for me. Talks to me.
Yeah.
Everything. There for me whenever
doesn't
I
hurt
want
anybody
it.
else. I hear a lot. Like doesn't hurt anybody.
Well, they don't know that.
Right. That's just
a
the lie.
But that's denial.
Denial.
Okay. Denial is like, as if you compare gravies, it's like the thickest gravy. So if I get a client that comes in and says, my wife and I are cool with it.
It's like a big turkey, with gravy all over it.
And it's like so thick that, I said to this one very high up executive, he said that to me, she likes that. Do that. So I go, did you ever ask her if she liked it or if she's doing it to please you?
Yeah. Wow. Different, huh?
So she may have taught how to please you,
Dr. Peggy,
but not really that she likes to do it.
That can take you to another step. It's for example, when you start with any kind of drug, we'll take you to another because things are not going to be progressive. So if you start with something like pornography in the couple, in the marriage, take it to another level, like for example, trying different things like multiple partners and things like that in the future could be that dangerous.
It does do that. Because that is the nature of it. It starts out as something that's very simple and it grows over time. And it's kind of interesting with my clients that they'll say, well, yeah, I was just looking at it like a little bit, but now I'm like looking at, women's legs, or I get into her and I start to, if I go up to the leg, then I'm automatically going into having fantasy sex with her. All right. And he said, I never thought it would do that. I was just like looking at a little pornography, but now I'm moving on and it's progressed to that. Okay. So then it progresses into the actual acting out. So, you have these chat rooms and things of that nature. Well, the next thing is the meetup, perhaps. But there are so many different kinds of different kinds of sex addictions out there. There are many different kinds. And just like there are many different people. And so, in my practice, I have a scientific test that I use to pinpoints what the problems are exactly with the person. And so we can address them. Anyway, my deal is to find joy in this havoc, because I know there are a lot of people out there that are in havoc over this this need that they think that the bond that they have with watching this, but there is joy in the process of working through this to find out that we can reduce your bad feelings and shame and fill the loneliness up with love.
And what I love about this topic, I mean, obviously it's a very heavy topic. Obviously, you know, it's like it's personal. You know, we all have somebody that we worry about, that we think about. As a man, I'm thinking a lot of things like, wow, you know, that's really amazing. But I think that there is true joy, you know, even though we're thinking about these heavy topics, where we can go to someone and get the help that we need. You know, where we can have somebody that opens the scriptures and says there is hope for you.
So
there
let's
is
say,
freedom.
Let's say that you, like on this card, it says struggling with an addiction to pornography or in a relationship with someone who is. Okay?
Right.
So let's say that you would see somebody do it, or that you would know of somebody. Okay. Now, you would think you could go to them and say, you know, here's Dr. Lesnick's card, you know, go get some help. Okay. They're not going to view it that way.
Right. No.
Per se, right?
Right. No.
Because of the thickness of the denial.
Yes.
Okay?
Right. The gravy is too thick.
The gravy's too thick to see through that.
Right.
So, I mean, a way a person can help the other person is to be able to encourage them to say, this can be dealt with and we can reduce the shame in this. There are 12-step groups that address this in addition with a therapist. So that's how a person would say, here, there's a 12-step group for that. And it's actually very cool to go to a 12-step group. And pretty much everybody has their own therapist.
Right.
This is 2014.
Right.
If you don't have a therapist,
right.
then something's wrong with you.
Right.
Because everybody has a therapist.
At least one, if not two or three. For different days of the week.
So reduce the shame of it, you know?
Right.
Saying, oh, that's gross.
Yeah.
That's so gross.
Yeah. And that's why I think, to me, out there in Gozo land, this is so important, this show. You know, we're trying to reduce the shame and the stigma, and trying to reduce we don't talk about this. I mean, I was talking to a friend the other day. We're talking about these issues, and he was saying, well, I just don't want to talk about this. So we're able to, in this show, you know, even though, this is like walking through gravy, you know, I must admit, this is like, whoa, this is kind of big stuff. But I'm so thankful that we have people of light, people of hope, and most of all, that we're here doing this so that we can talk about these things that help somebody out there who's like, I don't want to do this. I have some statistics that I wanted to just kind of run by you guys regarding the college campuses. You know, obviously, you know, you're having some of your son in college already, or soon, right? Next year. I have also 2 daughters who in a couple of years will be in school. I've worked at a university. I deal with a lot of college students. And so you have 2 in college, exactly. And so there's a poll by this guy named Mike Green, who he goes to colleges and asks students about these things. Sorry, Mike Long. And he asked the question, are you sexually active? And 66% of the people that he asked said yes, 33% said no. And then the second question, which I thought was interesting, is, if so, do you regret not waiting until marriage or finding the right person? And 35% said yes, they do regret it.
They regret that.
You know, regret that. Isn't that interesting, huh?
This is the deal.
That makes no sense to me. Like,
it
really?
Makes total
but
sense
it does make
to
sense
me.
to you. Okay, tell me why.
It makes total sense to me because this is my own opinion.
Yeah.
It's not based on anybody else's opinion. It's just my own, and we all get to have our own opinions. But I always thought that, okay, if I am gonna grow up and get raised up, and I'm gonna take care of myself.
Yes.
Okay. What do I have to do that? Okay, I have to raise up. I need to get to college. I need to get my degrees done. I need to get a job. I need to be able to self-care, take care of my health, my exercise, my eating right, or whatever. Okay, that's a huge mouthful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, for a person to be able to take care of themselves
is
a big accomplishment.
Yeah.
And like, praise the Lord for learning how to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, now, but we get caught up in taking care of everybody else. So we don't take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's just say, okay, let's have a relationship at a younger age.
Yeah.
Oh, let's tackle that. Hello? Because we haven't even tackled our own self yet. Honestly.
Yeah.
So you can do it. People do it. They out, they become lifelong friends. They work through their stuff. For me personally, I was always like, I'm waiting because you know what? I'm so responsible of that type of nature of personality that I'd be like, I can't do another one, another responsibility. I need to take care of myself to get through that.
Sure.
Now, but I look at sometimes over at the college campuses, and I'm walking around there and I'm like, I know that there are not a bazillion, but that's an exaggeration. I know there's a lot of people hurting on this campus. And then I'm thinking, they're not going to reach through this pain because they're using this pain to get through the stress of these courses. And this pain is their best friend.
Right. Their way to cope with all the tests and the expectations and
they're gonna I'm gonna go drink.
Right.
I need gonna
this.
do it. No, it's working for me now. I'm pulling an A and a B. I'm not gonna, whatever. I'm getting a C. I'm just getting by. I'm gonna do so. I'm being prayerful. I'm saying, dear Lord, help these people and help me to help them in the best way, right? Because people are hurting out there and they will go to the thing that's right there. But I think that there is regret because after you have that experience of having a sexual relationship, a human contact with another person, I know from a woman's perspective, there is a bond with that guy. I mean, I even think,
is that dangerous? How is that dangerous? I mean, what do you mean?
Well, they say, okay, this is me, you have me, now I am yours. Okay, because we have bonded sexually, we've connected our organs, our genitals together.
Tell me, what do you think, Gaby?
I believe if you can transmit any disease through sex, you're gonna transmit every mental and emotional, like you say, that connection. And then you're gonna be attached, even though that person is not in your life for some reason. If you don't cut that attachment will be with you through the next relationship and through the next one. And every relationship that you make,
you bring it in. People say, right?
It's gonna be in your brain.
I wonder if women. I've never looked at this before. It's very interesting. And if women can remember, every person they've had a sexual relationship with. I don't know.
But I believe if like anything, you don't remember maybe, but you're unconscious, some way it's going to act it up in your future relationship.
Yeah, there are 60 million thoughts.
Yes.
A second in the brain.
Yes.
Unconscious.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yes.
So I was just talking to a friend, speaking of this topic of women, especially as women age. I was talking to a business partner of mine. She has a business here in Long Beach. She has a beautiful boutique, and she's an amazing person. She has 2 master's degrees, one in business, one in social work. She's 35, and like I said, very successful. So we were talking about different things and kind of a partnership that we're trying to start. And she was telling me that she got divorced about 2 years ago. And she was telling me that now that she's single, or as she calls it, with her, not her ex, but her husband. Yeah, her husband. Like your husband. Never heard of that one before. But with her husband, who apparently stole money from her. He kind of, I guess, or she kind of built him up in some ways with her business background to be a millionaire. And then he ran away. Right? Yeah. And then he ran away with all the money and with another woman. Wow. Now she's asking me, as she said, David, now how do I date? Because she's saying that most of the guys that she's meeting at clubs or places, or that even bump into her at her work, they only want one thing, the same thing. They want to sleep with her. Sex at 35. And she's saying that it used to be, this is how she's thinking, that at least a guy would take a couple of dates before he was asking. Now for 20 minutes and $40, he's like, okay, let's go. Let's get this done. And she's now hanging out with her girlfriends. She's saying, is this what it's come to? Is this now where we're at 35, educated, successful, having maybe had some life, but now do we need to now become prostitutes, is what she said.
Well,
to be able to survive.
Be careful where you go to find your partners. If you go to the bars, that's what you're going to get. The bars.
Her experience is that she's been wounded and hurt. So her lens is looking through that right now. And until she gets some therapy and processing this out, she will have that lens, and she will attract people that are like that because of the lens and how she views it. Yeah. Very important. Yeah. Who would be to say that? Exactly. But it's the truth. Yeah. Our experiences put a lens on us and how we move through the world. And we really have to say, okay, what am I showing out there to the world? We have to take responsibility. We're not victims, okay?
Right.
We are not victims. We can't say that. Okay, it's true. men want to sleep with you right away. If you say, I will, they're going to jump into bed with you. Okay. I don't know what that's all about. Okay. I'm not have to be a specialist in that biology, but they will do that. That's true. Okay. And that's for experience. But I think there's more about that, the connection that a woman will have when she has a sexual relationship with a man, and in her fantasy can build a whole thing of how it's supposed to go, and it won't go that way because the man maybe is not connected. So the answer to that, in my opinion, would be that there has to be trust first, and that's built over time. And you have to slow way, way down, and you have to be with the person in a very nice, slow down relationship through all the seasons in a year, in a whole year, see them through the good and the bad.
I think it's not always be suspicious.
Okay.
Like every time, it's like we say in my country, once you burn with milk, you see the cow and you cry, well, it's because you're always suspicious, like you believe that this man did this to you, that everybody else is going to be
so you lump everybody in,
and that's what you project. That's your whatever you have in your mind, your spirit, everything, that's what you're going to show to others.
Yeah, sure. And what was awesome about this friend of mine, she got talking about this thing. She said, the reason I'm not going to be that way is because my mom taught me to respect myself. I thought that was so powerful, that she went back to her story when she was like, a little girl, and what her mom told her about her body and herself.
Okay, but one step further is, how am I going to find my happiness? It comes back to that.
Right.
I don't care what my mama taught me or my daddy, whatever, but I'm here now today. And she got through this divorce. The dude ran off with her money.
Right.
Okay. So how am I going to find my happiness today?
Exactly.
That's where we're at. Like, that's where each of us are at. Like right now, sitting right here, wherever we are, happen to be in the world, is how are we going to take responsibility for ourselves to find this happiness?
Well, but like he says, it comes from the roots, like you're going to fight with your, you teach your children. Like, for example, I'm going to share this with you fast. My brother opened once years ago a video rental. When you used to
back in the days, I used to love those. Flashdance and Top Gun was my favorite VHS. I always hated when the tape got stuck in there, though. Stick a pencil in there. Anyway, wow, you guys have no idea what we're talking about, huh?
And you know what? He's building this beautiful business. The business was beautiful and full of movies, and there me, nice, congratulate. And suddenly, of course, my eyes, I'm looking for some movies, and I see that section. They have a hidden section that is
behind a curtain normally, I remember. Yes.
And I say, what is this? You can't sue me. I cannot be quiet, right? And my brother said, well, that's business. People won't come if that for me to have all these videos, I had to put, no, you don't have to. I said, that's going to hinder your prayers. Me telling that, right? But it's true. When you get accept, because it's a business, or when you accept it, that you tell your children, it's okay. Children, it's okay if you have to do it because you're forcing. In order to have this business, I had to have that part too. And it doesn't have to be that way. So that's something that you were forming your kid's brain.
Correct, which is when you marry or you're with your partner, you have to love all of that part of them. Not just the one or two, like the physical attraction or, he has a lot of things or whatever. But there has to be like the love and the intimacy. You have to love the whole partner, which gets back to the whole thing.
I love that. And there's a song from Arjona, I don't know if you hear that. It's called Desnuda.
Oh, there's nude, naked, or nude.
Yes, and the song talks about his wife, and it says, if your boss it will see you naked, like with the more waist that you have, maybe your more pounds in your waist, it will raise your salary, because he sees her in a beautiful way, like talk about maybe her wrinkle or more weight, but the way he loves her, and it has to be that way. You have to grow.
That's so beautiful. It makes me think of as we begin to wrap up a little bit, and make sure, guys, if you want to live tweet us your questions at David Trig LA, let us know how this is impacting you. I'm sure this has raised so many questions and sparks in your head, and like it has to all of us. But it makes me think of the story related more to like mentoring young people, talking about children, I guess. I remember when my dad taught me about tools. And I remember, unfortunately, I didn't spend a lot of time with him because he died young. But I remember one day he took me into his shed, and he had all these little glass, like baby Gerber food glasses, but they were empty, and he put nails in them, like dozens of them, right? And he labeled them like 1 inch, 2 inches. And I remember, especially after he had passed away, going in there and just crying for, it seems like months, days, just remembering how he taught me. And so the other day, I'm pastoring a church in Santa Ana, and I work with a lot of young people, like 12, 15, 18-year-old, mostly boys. And we're doing this project, building this wall. And guess what I was doing? I'm bringing out hammers and nails, and these guys are like, they've never seen a hammer. They've never worked one, they've never nailed something to the wall. And at first I'm thinking, this is no big deal. But then they're like, and so I brought my drill. Oh man, guys and drills, right? It's like one of those power, like 12 volts. they're having visions of their video games, probably. Who knows what they're thinking. But I was driving home that day, and I thought, I was again tearing up. I thought, man, my dad taught. Like, you get it? Like, I'm like, whoa, like all the connections. And I think when it comes to this topic, it's so important that we're doing this, because this is what we're doing, right? We're freeing the next generation. There's complications, no doubt. I mean, there's no way, all these papers. I mean, we all have thousands of notes of things that are so heavy and so important. But I think at the end of the day, what Dr. Peggy's doing, what you're doing, what we're doing here is liberating people, is being able to pass on as much as we can from all our own experiences, from biology and behavior, all the things that we're learning, to hopefully empower and to be able to see that young person grab that hammer himself and build that wall. And be able to be free from this stuff, and be able to say, I can look at my wife differently. Or if I am struggling, I'm going to be able to talk openly, ask for help.
Ask for help.
Ask for help. Exactly. And that's why we're here to say, ask for help. And maybe that is our tag for today. Ask for help. We love you. We want you to ask for help, to be able to not be shameful, or not to not have shame. Shame is present. But once you have that shame, to ask for help. Once you experience that loneliness, to ask for help. Once you remember what happened to you when you were 12 and 15 and 18 and 35, to ask for help, because that is what we're here to do, to help people. And so I wanted just to give you guys some last maybe closing thoughts. Dr. Peggy, tell us kind of how you can help people. I know you're obviously, like I said, a licensed therapist. How can people get a hold of you? And then also, Gaby, I wanted you also to maybe give any last words here to our audience.
Well, I'm available at PeggyLesnickTherapy.com, and I actually do teleconference with servicemen. They're in Afghanistan, and I get them on the computer, and I'm able to do a screen, and we can do therapy work that way. So if you can't come into my office, or you live in somewhere where you can't come in, you can call me and we can talk about it. There's telephonic counseling as well, or there's the old-fashioned face-to-face where we can get together. That's totally old-fashioned.
I know.
Yeah, I'm part of all of those avenues. And if you are a wife or a spouse or a girlfriend that knows that your husband or spouse or a boyfriend is having problems with this, if you reach out to me, there's ways to approach your family and your relationship to where can be saved and even better than it was before. So that's, it's all in love.
That's right.
God is love.
That's right. And also your son, right, has a wonderful show. He was telling me it's called Fact or Fiction. So it also deals with themes of sex addiction and other things. So go to AlecLesnick.com. That's AlecLesnick.com to check out his fun show.
Yeah, he did. Well, he has the Xander Show, which is a comedy show. But one of his assignments was to write about this particular segment.
Oh, okay, great.
USC journalism.
Excellent.
So he interviewed the experts about that. But check that out. That's good.
Yes.
There's an answer to your questions. Please don't be sad or isolated. Reach out, and we'll be there to help you.
That's right. Yes. Gabby, any last words as we wrap up?
Well, I will say that God says that truth will make you free.
Yes.
You know, speak the truth.
Wow.
If you have something that you're hiding, is because it's no good. If you have something to hide, it's gonna hurt you, and then it's gonna hurt your whole family. So look for help. It could be a therapist, a good friend, somebody, a starting point. You know, it could be a friend, somebody that you trust, but don't keep it inside. And especially, the most important thing is just be truthful to your father. Just tell God, pray. And God says that we need to renew our mind every day. It means you need to put everything and think and everything that is beautiful every day. And when you know what I do, one of the things that I do every time I have a bad thoughts coming to my brain, because I have bad thoughts too, yeah. I'm human, you know? Yes. I have this bad thoughts sometimes.
Chocolate doesn't count, okay?
Yeah. So I said, I cancel. It looks stupid, right? But I cancel like this with noise around me, and I say, I cancel. I'm not gonna think about that, and I say it loud so I can hear myself what I said.
Wow.
So cancel it. You know, take it out of your way.
Cancel
it sounds maybe like not so professional, but
No,
just
no,
do
it's
it.
a good, well, it's,
You
you
know?
know, it's a good, it's cognitive behavioral therapy
Yes.
is what you're doing, your own CBT, but you have to start somewhere.
I love she have the words for everything
I
that
know.
I say. She has the medical, but you say cancel.
Cancel.
Cancel it. You know, and when you cancel it,
Try that.
You're
Cancel,
gonna see
cancel,
yourself
cancel.
dancing and start thinking about good things. You know, and start singing, and start changing immediately what you're watching in TV.
Wow.
Go fast and turn off the computer. You don't need to be slave. That's a slavery. When you have to be attached to something, just be free. Don't you want to be free?
But if you want it
Yes.
so badly, you need to seek help, right?
Yes.
Okay, you can't do it yourself.
Right.
But
That is the
start.
message that I need to make
Yes.
clear. You
Right.
cannot do it alone. by
But even
yourself.
though when you do a therapy and all that, you're gonna go therapy one hour, and you have 23 hours, and those 23 hours when you are not in therapy, do what the therapist says, but then do what God says to, you know, renew your mind, read the Bible, read the Word of God. You read the Word of God. When you're reading and you are attached to God, you cannot really distract yourself to the bad things, because the Holy Spirit is gonna talk to you, and when He talks to you, then you're gonna feel convicted, and you're gonna say, "Oh, I shouldn't think that." So you're gonna repent. You say, "I'm sorry," and then when you repent, you know, it's just a practice every day. You are not there without being here, so you need to practice every day. It's
you really do. And there
Yes.
are people though that are addicted, and they will work their everything to get through it, and they cannot do it. So they really need to take your advice, and they also need to seek help in a 12-step group, and they need to get their paperwork done, and they need to join in a union of people who have worked through this problem and have sobriety for 10 and 15 and 20 years, and you know, and get help in that way to see, you know what, I can battle this and get through this, because it's really complicated and it's very hard. And I know that they try.
Absolutely.
Because I see them in my office, and I'm
Exactly.
sitting there going, man, you're just like really if you could humanly possible do it by yourself, I know that you would, you guys. But the truth is, you know, setting yourself free with the love of the Lord, and also to work a really good program.
Exactly.
And use His word, because God cannot deny His word. I said once. And use His word. God says, I can do all things in Christ who gives me the strength.
Right.
What can I do? Just a little thing, not all things.
Yeah.
So put it in practice. Say it every day with passion.
Yeah.
Believe it. Say, I can do all things. Oh, why can't I do it? I'm going to do it. You know, and just keep pressing until you get there, and you're going to be free.
That's
know
right.
You will.
And surround yourself with loving people.
That's right. Okay. So in closing for me, I think of my son. You know, I think of, he's 11, and I remember, like I was saying, the Baskin Robbins experience. So we were there outside of Baskin Robbins. He was at the time, I think, 9. He's 11 now. It's a couple of years ago. And you know, even though it was uncomfortable for him, You know, to me, that was a wonderful thing. First, because we had Rocky Road ice cream, which is my favorite. But I think even beyond, it set the stage. So now that he's 11, guess what we're going to do? We're going to talk again, because now it's time once again. And that really, all those moments, you know, are so crucial. And so I want to just encourage you guys out there in Gozo land, in Gozo Nation, our Gozo family, to take those steps. You know, there are biblical steps. There are steps with a group of people. There are steps when it comes to your heart. You know, think of a story. Think of a moment that you want for it to be different than what you maybe are experiencing now. Think of, I love the story that one of you told about seeing your wife as she really is. You know, imagine, envision. The power of imagination is so powerful. Envision what you want that relationship to actually be like, to once again see your wife in a way that you used to, or maybe in a fresh way that you want to once again. What are the steps? You have plenty of choices here. You have no excuse except just simply us wanting to take that step. Get some help. We love you. We are behind you. Reach out to one of us. We are here to help you win, to help you have joy, to help you have gozo en español, en inglés, in Spanish, in English, no matter what language you speak, novelas, or whatever you're into. We want you to have the success, because guess what? The media is not waiting. Facebook is not waiting. You know, these phones and Mr. Apple is not waiting for you to get it right. You know, they're coming after us. And so we have to take responsibility, and we have to be able to take that step in any language and to get the help that you need. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We love you. Have gozo in your life. Have joy in your life, no matter what fear, anxiety, depression, addiction. We love you. Please come back here once again next Wednesday, as we're going to be talking about nutrition. We're going to be talking about how to actually eat healthy, how to get some of these grapes and some of these bananas into our bodies, and how to eat less chocolate and have more broccoli. Okay, have a great rest of the day. Have a great rest of this afternoon, and we will see you next time. Bye. Adios.
Ciao, ciao.
All right.